Feels like the afternoon already when you've been here since 5 o'clock in the morning. Feels like we're well into the day. Appreciate it. Appreciate the turnout. This morning, a couple of really important things that we want to discuss. I know last week, it was late last week, I think it was Thursday of last week, we put out some photos of an individual, of a car that we were looking for that was related to an assault, a hit and run, a larceny, and for those of you who aren't intimately familiar with what I'm referencing, you have to go back to April 17th, that was Tuesday, at the Harris Teeter over on Ray Road. Just about 5:30 at night, there is a fella, Nate Green, who's with his 4-year-old little boy. They are walking into Harris Teeter, do a little shopping. They were out having some pizza earlier, and they see some frantic employees that are trying to get the attention of a patron who had been leaving the store, hops into a waiting car, a 4-door Volkswagen Passat, and Nate, being the community-minded guy that he is, thinks that maybe they forgot their debit card, he didn't know what's going on, went to get the attention of the driver of that car and to advise him that the store management was asking for him to return, reaches over to signal to the man, well, driving the car. Not only does the guy not really pay much attention to Nate, goes a step further and gooses it, right? Accelerates and winds up hitting Nate, knocking that 4-year-old little boy out of Nate's arms. Nate hits the ground hard, very hard, concussion, fractured skull, swelling on the brain. Little boy, the gash was right down to the bone on this little guy's head. Turns out that one of the occupants in that car, the fellow who was coming out of the store, had just stolen a case of Bud Light. Coming up out of that Harris Teeter on Ray Road. Putting those pictures out, because some would say, oh, what's the big deal? You got kids stealing, a beer. Where's the big news flash? Get it? We've all been stupid, all done stupid things. I could rattle off about a dozen or so that I've done myself when I was young. But this really goes far beyond being stupid. This is reckless kind of stuff. This man and this little boy, probably lucky that they're alive today. And that's not hyperbole. This is really, really bad stuff. What's even worse is that those individuals, they're still out there. That car is still out there. Have some really vivid photos of that car and that individual, that suspect, and we really need community members to pay close attention, to really take a good look at those photos and forward that information to our Crime Stoppers tip line, 704-334-1600. Don't need to know who you are, where you are. You don't have to come and testify in court. We simply need that information for our detectives to run down and follow up on. There is a woman here to my left who was gracious enough to have time to break away from her family, who's in dire need of her attention, I think we'd all agree, right now, Amber Green. She's the wife of Nate Green and the mom of that little boy that I referenced. And it's been a tough go for Amber and her family, and I want to bring her up to talk a little bit about just how Nate's doing, how our little guy's doing, and more importantly, how much it would mean to her and her family if somebody in the community would step up with some information on this case. Amber Green.
Hi, thanks for having me today. I just want to help anybody in the community. If you, I'm sorry, I just want to thank anybody in the community. If you know something, say something, even if it's just minute details. It's kind of my plea for help, because I feel like these individuals need to be caught, because this could have been your spouse, your child that this happened to, and next time may not be as fortunate. Somebody could have get killed. Sorry, I'm nervous and it's hard to talk. My son. He is getting better each day, but he still has a lot of anxiety walking across parking lots. He holds my hand tighter. He wants to be held tighter. He gets fearful when cars go by, feels like they're getting ready to hit him, and he still vividly remembers exactly what happened that day. He wakes up in the middle of the night with nightmares, with stomach aches, and asks, why did this happen? He's, trying to just constantly, understand what were they getting, why were they in a hurry, and why would they want to hurt him, and not understanding, and little kids take things personal and don't understand. My husband, my heart is broken for him. He is a strong individual, very servant-hearted and just a really sweet guy. Everybody that knows him loves him, and just to see him go through such pain. He has severe headaches every single day, things that we take for granted, like picking things off the ground. When he does it, he has sharp stabbing, pain in his head. He has skull fractures from the top all the way down to the base of his head, as well as over here. And it's hard to sleep at night. He can't smell. He can't taste. He has constant ringing in his ears. He has visual issues, numbness and tingling, and they don't know if these neurological symptoms will dissipate, if they'll go away. They said that time will tell. He's, can't drive right now. And, it could be 3 months, could be a year, could be a couple of years. We just don't know. My husband is a small business owner. We own the Southern Olive in Indianland, South Carolina. And as a gourmet chef, not being able to taste or smell is significant. And, how is he going to do, cooking demonstrations and things like that to help the community eat healthier? And so I just watch him every single day, struggle but to get better, and he wants to get better. We want these people to be caught. I mean, I think that we just can't rest until these individuals are, brought to justice. But more importantly, I do fear that they can do this again to somebody else, and I would not want this to happen to anybody else.
Any questions for Ms. Regan? Anyone? I know Amber, you also had some photos that you'd be happy to share, kind of graphic, of Nate and his situation when they had him in the hospital, and even your little guy, and some of that. So anybody interested in that, and thank you. Thanks very much.
Did you get any encouraging word at all from the docs?
When it comes to concussions and skull fractures, everybody is different. And the only thing they can say is the symptoms may resolve, they may not. So I don't know, that might be encouraging to some people because they might hear that they may get better, but to other people they may think, gosh, they may not get better. And when they say time will tell, I mean, I don't know about you, but if I can't taste and smell and enjoy food, and I have constant pain in my head and ringing in my ears, like having patience is very hard. You want to get better, immediately.
How are you doing?
I am I'm exhausted and I am emotional, so I apologize for not being able to speak here clearly. I'm trying to keep everything together.
How long were each of them in the hospital?
So we've had multiple trips. So the first time it was 2 days, and then had to go back again for a third day. And so because with the hospitals were full, and he was stable, and so they said that we could watch at home and try to manage, but unfortunately their symptoms got worse and they had to go back to the hospital, and then stayed another day and then came back again.
How was your son doing physically?
Physically he's still kind of his wound is still very huge scabs and red and swollen. The other wounds on his body are healing. Still says his head hurts a little bit. They were worried about a minor facial fracture here because he kept having periorbital swelling, but it was not displaced, and there's not really anything you can do about that. Again, only time will heal it.
It sounds like your husband was trying to help out outside the grocery store. Is that who he is? Is that kind of something you've seen from him before? Doing exactly what he was doing when he was hurt?
My husband is always helping people. If he sees a random stranger trying to lift their groceries into the car, he's trying to help them. If he sees somebody trip on pavement or whatever, he goes and just stops what he's doing to help them. He is just always that kind of guy to go help.
When you heard that this happened, the mundane trip to the grocery store turned into a nightmare. Was it shock, disbelief? Take us through the emotional roller coaster that you've been through.
So I am a family nurse practitioner, and I do practice medicine and license in 3 states. I'm used to traumas and different types of acute events, but frankly, not with my family. When I received the phone call, I was completely paralyzed with fear. I was sad and angry and scared, and my only thought was I need to get up to the hospital. And unfortunately, it was like rush hour, and it was taking me an hour to get up there. And the whole time I'm driving, I'm just completely, scared that the symptoms were worse. Honestly, because I had no idea, because I didn't have any details.
What is this like for you as a wife and a mom? It's both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because my husband is used to taking care of things in the house, and so I am trying to take care of these things, which is hard for him as a man because he wants to be able to take care of his family and provide. And so I see that, and that's heart-wrenching for me. As a mom, I feel like I am also trying to be very protective. I have another child, and when we walk across parking lots, honestly, I'm hyper vigilant, trying to pay attention to my surroundings because I go to the shopping center all the time with my children. And now I'm scared to go there, because I don't know. And now it's like any, shopping center, this can happen, at any time. And this was broad daylight. It was 5:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. I mean, this is whenever people are getting off work. I mean, who would have thought that this would have happened? It's just unreal.
Have you had any conversations with your son about the crash and, what do you say, what does he say?
So I let him talk it through. And I try to tell him, to not be scared, that sometimes, accidents or things happen, and that he needs to understand that, no one set out, that day to try and, hit you or hurt you or anything like that, that sometimes, bad things happen to good people. And I try to explain to him that not everybody is a bad person, because he sometimes will see individuals that look like the person that was, robbing, with the beer. And, and I explained to him that the color of your skin, the type of hair, the height, or being a male or driving that particular type of car does not make you a bad person. That sometimes people, make the wrong decisions at the wrong time, unfortunately, and it can hurt people, and that you just need to always, love and accept everybody.
Amber, we thank you much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Guys, follow up with me. Again, there's some images. I think most of the stations have them, but if you don't, follow up with me, and I'll be sure to get them your way. One thing I want to underscore is that Crime Stoppers tip line. Anyone with information, 704-334-1600. Again, up to $1,000 reward for information leading to an arrest in this case. And and maybe this is kind of naive on my part. Maybe the people involved in this, maybe they see this, and maybe they have somewhat of a conscience. I spoke with the detective. There's no getting around the fact that these guys knew what they did. There wasn't, maybe we hit a speed bump. No, you hit a person, nearly killed a person. So it's glaringly obvious, should be at least to these people, that they hit this man and this child. Come forward, right? I think it's a lot easier for detectives to manage this on the front end by them coming forward and turning themselves in than having to negotiate and manage this on the back end when they bring you in, and they will bring you in. So just wanted to put that out there. And again, anyone with information, please pass that along to our Crime Stoppers tip line, 704-334-1600. Shifting gears, back in November, some of you were in this very room back in November when we launched our exchange zone program. 14 different exchange zones that were situated and positioned at quick trips around the city, monitored 24 hours a day, with designated areas and parking lots that would allow people in our community to have safer online transactions when you're purchasing, selling things online. We had seen at that point just a spike in the number of robberies of people who were buying and selling online through these apps, these transaction apps and the like. And I guess a lot of us remember, Zach Finch, that 21-year-old guy, just a great student, family guy, baseball player, college baseball player, who lost his life on Father's Day in 2017, trying to buy a cell phone on Farmer Street in West Charlotte. That's really got a lot of the attention, but there were a lot of Zachs in 2017, sad to say. Thankfully, none had gotten to the point where somebody lost their life like Zach, but it was a serious thing. So we started this program. First 6 months, a person who has been just instrumental in getting this thing off the ground has been Officer John Frisk. A lot of you know him from our crime prevention unit. This guy's put all the sweat equity into getting this thing off the ground, and I want to get John out here just to kind of give you a little bit of an update on some of the developments of the program and what you can soon start to see through the exchange program. John Frisk.
Morning. So as Rob said, and most of us, we already know, the exchange zone, this was an attempt for people who were meeting total strangers, typically online transactions, to go to a location and attempt to reduce any type of incidents that were occurring. And typically, robberies is what we were seeing. Obviously, meeting a total stranger, it's a little bit scary. Naturally, money is involved in these situations. So what we wanted to do was put this in place where it's 24-hour video monitoring. There's a lot of people. If it's nighttime, it's very well lit. Naturally, as you all know, we met with the quick trips, we all know as QTs. There's, I think as Rob said, there's about 14 quick trips right now. They're in construction of having about 2 more. So our plan when we put this in place was to meet with the quick trips every 6 months, in which we did so last week. As of right now, when we compare the numbers from November 1st, 2016 to April 25th, 2017, at that point, with Let Go, OfferUp, and Facebook transactions, there was 22 robberies. When we started the exchange zone, November 1st, 2017, all the way up until April 25th, 2018, it reduced, and there was only 10 robberies in that time frame. So we got a reduction of over 50%. As far as how much use it's actually getting, the manager, the corporate manager we met with last week, he actually did not have those numbers. Hopefully over the next week we will get that and try to get a little bit of feedback. But I can say one positive story when we spoke with him last week. His son, who was 14 years old, he was selling that computer for $1,000. So he told the person that was going to be buying the computer to meet at one of the local quick trips, and they did so. The person who was showing up to purchase the computer, was actually very happy. They saw the sign that said CMPD Exchange Zone. He saw it was 24-hour video monitoring, and both parties felt like they were, being watched and felt probably a lot safer than just meeting, in a random location, meeting a total stranger. Naturally, we have gotten more calls from other businesses wanting to do the same type of partnerships. We also know that this took a long time coming. This wasn't something we just put together in a couple weeks. So we do look to hopefully probably get more exchange zones in place with other businesses. So questions you might have for me?
Yeah, Officer Briscoe's the 22 robberies that you were talking about. Can you be more specific? Are those the like overall in the city, or what are those 22 that cut down to 10?
So those robberies, like I said, whenever we do what's called a KB Cops report that we're all aware of, those KB Cops, they were looked at specifically for online transactions. So if the word Let Go, OfferUp, or any Facebook online transactions were used, that's how we pulled those numbers. Now, naturally, there's probably some other apps, but they're not commonly used like these particular ones. So that's how we did our comparison.
And John, just clarifying the numbers, you said that was November 1st, 16 to April 25th of this year, 22 robberies.
Correct.
And when the program started, November 1st to December 18th?
Till April 25th of this year. So just one day last week. So we did about a 6-month comparison because we only have 6 months of the exchange zone being in place.
And that number is 10, right?
That is correct. That number is 10.
Do you have plans to expand and just elaborate?
Absolutely. So the quick trips, they will continue to expand. So if they add 5 more stores over the next year or two, those will continue to expand. They've actually, what the quick trips are going to do, whenever they're building, they're actually going to put that in their budget. So they're going to have the lines painted. The only thing that we have to do is actually get the signs made for them and bring them out to them, and they'll post them for us. So the other company that had reached out to us that we should be talking to this week would be the 7-Eleven. So it's possible that we could be partnering with them, and then if we can add 10 or 15 locations with them, we just want to make this convenient for anyone here in Charlotte that 5 or 10 minutes from wherever you reside from, that you can go there and do this online transaction.
The quick trips where the robberies happened, were they on surveillance? Since they were on surveillance video, were they easier for you guys to catch?
That I'm not aware of. I didn't actually look at any of the footage.
So were the robberies at the quick trip location?
That I don't know either. I don't think all of them were at the Quick Trip locations. I would doubt that.
So the 10 that you mentioned that have been the past 6 months?
Correct.
We don't know where those...
Yeah, I could look for that and get those numbers to Rob and try to find out exactly where they were. But I would almost certainly say they weren't all at the Quick Trips, if any at all.
Have you been able to make any arrests by having that there?
I don't know that either. Not sure of that.
We could circle back on a lot of those and get a little bit more hyper-specific for you.
I have one more question.
Yeah,
Remember before when you launched it, you said that it would also be a space where officers would go by and patrol more often.
Right.
Are they still doing that?
Absolutely. They're called zone checks. We actually created in our system, our CAD system, where when the officers go through, they can hit a button on the computer and it shows that they're there for maybe 30 seconds or a minute or a couple minutes. Or naturally, typically, an officer will go in there and maybe get a coffee or soft drink or something like that, and just to have that presence there.
Officer first, and forgive me if you mentioned it, I got distracted for a second. Have you had any incidents since the exchange zone started, at any of the exchange zones?
I don't believe so. None reported to me. None reported to me. So maybe that answers your question a little bit more. As far as did any incident occur at an exchange zone, I would have to say that answer is no from my knowledge. Nothing was reported to me that there was any type of incident that occurred at one of the Quick Trips in the last 6 months.
And I think we also had a robbery, I think yesterday, a report in East Charlotte where there was somebody had robbed a house doing one of these phones. Was that one of the 10 that you mentioned?
No, it would not. It would have ended on April 25th of 2018.
Was that an online transaction that somebody was trying to coordinate?
Yes.
Follow up with me, Gene. I'll get you the specifics.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. And just to, I think that he kind of talked a little bit about how you really can't quantify and say that that 50% reduction is a result of the exchange zone program. Sort of doesn't hurt, I'm sure. Just to go a little bit more globally, we're down 25% overall this year in robberies from person than we were this time last year in that same time period. So you're looking at an upwards of 800. This time last year, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 600. One's one too many, but encouraging to see that the numbers are heading in a better direction, and this program, I would suspect, has something to do with that. Look forward to seeing where this goes, how many other vendors, corporations, companies get involved, and us having the opportunity to expand it. Look, elephant in the room. There's no safe exchange area, right? There, that's I think that's a canard. That's we really have to watch our language. It's safer than just meeting someone blindly in the middle of some neighborhood that's not well lighted and somebody you don't know. I would still encourage, as I'm sure John would from crime prevention, do your homework, do your due diligence, find out exactly who it is you're going to be meeting, bring somebody along with you, meet in these exchange zone areas, and your odds, I would suspect, would improve largely, that it will be a safer transaction than if you're just poking around in the dark and hoping for the best, that we all know that hope's not a strategy. So just wanted to get that out there. And again, 25% down globally across the board with robberies, armed robberies from this time last year. Anything before we head for the hills?
Yes. Rob, in reference to the crash where the 20-year-old lost her life when she fell out the window, I mean, this is right before final exams at UNCC. How sad is it to know that a 20-year-old is now dead right before exams and she had so much promise? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I saw the report come out this morning. Heartbreaking. 20-year-old woman attending one of our local schools, and by all accounts, out to just have a good time with some friends. Have some really skilled investigators that are working on the case. I'm sure that's no consolation to the parents, Polly. Just heartbreaking. I've read the narrative this morning, and as a person who has daughters of my own, I mean, how can this not just tug at your heartstring? It's sad stuff.
Does it look like there will be any charges for anybody in that case?
Don't know. Active investigation. Going to be a thorough investigation. They're going to do it right instead of doing it fast. I do know that there were some questions concerning alcohol consumption for the driver, for the occupants. I don't know if there was any alcohol consumption as far as Polly went, any alcohol. As far as the victim goes, I do know, according to the reports, there was alcohol consumption regarding some of the occupants on the bus. They're going to turn over every stone, find out exactly what happened here. To my understanding, that it was an emergency window that had given way, and she had unfortunately she was thrust out of the vehicle into traffic and was struck by at least one car, if not two cars.
Any indication about alcohol with the driver?
Not at this point. It doesn't seem to be at this point, but again, preliminary information, and I'm kind of hesitant to lock anything in just yet until we have all statements and information and evidence that's been gathered. Again, you know, just encouraging to know that you've got some skilled investigators that are working on this, and it's a priority right now.
Can you tell us the name of the bus company?
I can get that for you. Yeah, absolutely. It was it not in the release?
As far as what our reporter said.
Okay. No, the bus was a 1974 bus. It was an older bus, but I will get the name of that company for you.
I know we're gonna get asked about this. She's 20 years old on a party bus. Why is a 20-year-old on a party bus going to Uptown?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's any law that would prevent or prohibit a 20-year-old from, you know, going uptown. You know, what she was going to do uptown is something that I'm not aware of. Still too many uncertainties, Katie, for me to give you an educated response there. We've got a lot of questions ourselves.
What about these flag burning arrests?
I'm sorry?
What about these flag burning arrests?
Yes.
Yesterday?
Well, you know, and Alex, I'm glad you brought that up. These people weren't arrested for flag burning. You know, flag burning, there's no law against flag burning. You want to burn a flag, your own flag, and your own property, you know. I guess if that's your thing, go ahead, have at it. You know, that's fine. I think where you kind of get into a dicey area is where you burn a flag in public and damage public property, and that's where this came in. The charges that I guess you're referencing are that carelessness with fire. It's my understanding that that's a Mecklenburg County ordinance, and I'm going to loosely kind of paraphrase what that says, that a person cannot ignite a fire that would either A, put someone in danger, or B, destroy someone's or public property. So I pretty well convinced that that's where the carelessness with fire comes in. The damage to property was the sidewalk. I wasn't out there, but according to officers and the report, that the sidewalk was scorched out there, about $250 worth of damage, and that's where that came in. A couple of things to unpack, though. My understanding, about 15 demonstrators out for this May Day event, peaceful by all accounts. I worked with officers. There were a couple of occasions where they got into the roadway and obstructed traffic. Officers were more than lenient to let them, you know, demonstrate and do their thing. Operating without an amplified sound permit, they had sound equipment. Again, you know, at the end of the day, it wasn't earth-shattering, something officers were more than tolerant of. I think where things got a little bit dicey was when you had that flag burning on a sidewalk, damaging that property, and that's where we are here. 3 arrests. I believe Ms. Rice was also, may not have been mentioned in the report. I think she was also arrested for resisting arrest, and I'll circle back and check on that for you. Yes.
Just to be clear on the party bus situation, it's
Yes.
unclear on the alcohol consumption on the victim. If whether or not she had consumed.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
But
That has not been determined at this point. That's something that I'm sure toxicology will bear out. There were other occupants, according to information and what I've read so far, that there were occupants on the bus who were consuming
Any of
alcohol.
them underage?
Don't know.
And is it just unclear too at this point if that was a malfunction of the bus when the emergency?
Don't know.
Or
Yeah.
an accident?
All very good questions, Robin, and questions that I'm sure that we'll get the answers to, and hopefully not the too distant future. But again, I think they're detectives that I know are a heck of a lot more interested in getting it right than getting it fast. We owe that to everyone, the community, you know, Polly's folks, the bus company, the driver of the bus, drivers of the other vehicles, everyone. So just be patient, and I'm sure that that'll be coming in the not too distant future, and encouraged to know that you got some really good people working on this.
Would a bus like that be regulated, Rob?
Don't know. I'll find out for you. Sure.
Rob, back to the flag burning. Had they communicated with police beforehand saying we're going to have this event, you know? I don't know if that would have been required.
The flag burning event?
The May Day Christmas, yeah.
Yes, we were aware of it. We had officers out there to facilitate their ability to exercise their First Amendment rights in a peaceful, safe kind of way. There have been ongoing dialogue, and again, I know it's glaring and it gets some attention that it was a May Day event and there was flag. This was it was a peaceful thing. It was a peaceful thing, and again, I think where we got into a little tricky water was during the whole public burning of the flag that damaged some public property. But there was no unrest or aggressiveness. The demonstrators, they were cordial, and they were just trying to exercise their First Amendment rights, which they're constitutionally permitted to do. We're just there to help facilitate that.
And you're saying essentially it could have been like a movie poster. It doesn't matter what they burned, just where they did it.
Right. Does it make a difference if it was a flag, that if it was a poster, if they want to light some money on fire, whatever it is, we've seen it, I think it's a little ill-advised. They could find a lot better use for their money. But yes, it had nothing to do with the flag.
Hey Rob, any update on the Facebook post or page we were talking about, where it appears that illegal activity, drugs, are being sold just here in this public view? I know other law enforcement has said they're investigating that. What can you tell us about that? Newsflash: people are selling drugs online. I don't think many of us are shocked. Certainly nobody in this building, this organization, is shocked. I think with the advent of social media and the web, it's a double-edged sword. It's a blessing, but there's some curse involved with it as well. As things develop and more technology becomes available, people with not the best intentions, or some would argue maybe entrepreneurs who don't have the best intention, will find opportunities to peddle whatever it is that they're trying to sell on social media. Yes, we are aware, and that's not the only show in town. I'm not going to give anybody any free publicity or free advertising here, or much less elevate whatever kind of entrepreneurial spirit they have. But yeah, something we're aware of. I think as a parent, you need to know what your kids are doing. Obviously, what kind of sites they're going to, what they're purchasing, and it's just it's the nature of the beast when you live and work in a free market society. That's what we see, and it's unfortunate. So is this something is not surprising to you? You see this kind of thing all the time, where people are posting, marijuana.
I think it's hard to quantify whether we see it all the time. We see it though, and it's not just limited to this particular website or Facebook page that you're referencing. There's some others out there as well, and it certainly has our attention.
Could we get an update on the untested sexual assault kits in CMPD's custody? I know Josh Stein released a report with a higher number than I thought was the actual quote-unquote backlog.
Yeah, we'll follow up with you and get you exactly what you need. Absolutely.
Any updates, Rob, on the murder investigation where the guys wanted? I think it's Tory Brooks from Sunday.
No new developments there. There have been questions about the other homicide that we had with that body of Alexis Farley that was identified, located last week. Richard Jordan charged with her kidnapping and ultimately her murder. Just to close a couple of loops on that, there was some question about random. These two, they were acquaintances. I'm not going to go any further than to say that they were acquaintances. I'm not going to get into what extent. Believe at this point that preliminary information that they're trying to run down indicates that this may have been involved some type of drug activity, and I'm just not going to get into anything further. So just to give you a little bit of context there, knew each other and investigating whether or not there may be a drug connection to what led to her kidnapping and ultimately a murder. I mean, sad, right? 17th homicide victim so far this year, 21-year-old girl. I mean, this Jordan cat, and go back and just look at his criminal history. We don't have to really be any kind of crime analyst to see that this guy's had his run-ins before. So that's where we are with that, and anything that develops in the way of any new information will be passed along through the Public Affairs Office.
And so the number of homicides so far this year is 17. I know that there was like one death investigation that was possibly... I believe
the one death investigation you're referencing was the fellow who was found out in the field in our Independence Division, East Charlotte. I don't think they've determined at this point, still waiting for the ME's report to determine whether it was natural causes or whether there was any foul play involved. So yes, 17 so far this year. That's compared to 29 this time last year, and our clearance rates hovering somewhere in the neighborhood of 60% right now. Colleen, did you have something? No.
No, we don't.
Just scratching your head. Good, everyone? All right, we appreciate you. And Alex, if you want to follow up with me, I'll get you what you need. Good deal.